Welcome back. This is our third CalendarWORX tutorial. Our first couple of videos, we basically just kind of took a little tour of CalendarWORX, filled out a registration form. We never actually logged in those first two, so if you skip those and you just want to go straight to the administrative stuff, I think you'll be just fine. Okay, I'm going to scroll down. We have down here on this little bar, if you recall, we'd looked at our view, various views, and we also have a login link down there. If you are a site administrator, you may already be logged into the calendar through your regular PageWorks login. Through these tutorials, I want to use the calendar login. Okay, as you can see, we've got a button up here at the top that wasn't there before to add an event. I'm going to assume that most everyone has worked with some sort of an electronic calendar, whether it be an online calendar or Microsoft Outlook or whatever. So there's going to be quite a few things that should look familiar on here. It's nothing too tricky. CalendarWORX actually is a pretty easy program to deal with all the way around. We do have recurrences, so where you might be accustomed to seeing a start and a stop date, in this case we actually only have one date we could put in. So if our event starts on March 3rd and ends on March the 5th, we use a daily recurrence to put it down there. And likewise, we can do weekly occurrences, monthlies, and annually. So if you wanted to put a birthday or something like that, you can use the annual recurrence. And we're going to jump back up here in just a little bit when we talk about registrations. Scrolling on down this ad screen, we have the title of the event as a required field. In most installations, you do have a rich text editor. So if you have one of those, I would encourage you to take a look at our tutorials about rich text and image management. On down below, we have optional information. This should be pretty self-explanatory. There's a map link that does require the street address, city, state, and a zip code for that to work. You can enable registrations for events providing that they are single-day events or daily events. You cannot do registrations for weeklies, monthlies, or annual recurring events. Without getting into too much explanation, it's really just one event that repeats. But a little later on in this tutorial, I'll show you a way to get around an issue if, say, you have a monthly luncheon that you would like to have a registrations enabled for, and you don't want to have to type that thing in 14 or 12 times. That was a situation that just came up with a client, and I'll explain that a little bit. But anyway, I'll scroll back down to the bottom of our where we just were. If we allow registrations, we would need to set a registration cutoff date, which is normally a day or two before the event, and a registration cutoff time. We're going to do close of business that day. Then we have an email address. As you can see, it's already populated that because I've logged in with my username, and it has put that in there for me. You can put another email address in there if you want your notifications to go somewhere else and show where they display it on the event. Now I'm just going to close that and not bother adding an event. Okay, going back, scrolling back down after we've logged in, as you can see now that we're logged in, a new link has showed up down here. It takes us to our Advanced Administration page. What we're seeing here really is no different than what we have on the calendar. The same events. When we click on them in this way, well, that one's taking its sweet time. Is the same thing as if we go back into our admin and we click on it here. But what this does allow us is to see all of the events that we've placed in one table here without having to scroll through those calendars. Now we're logged in as administrator, so we would see all events that were placed by any calendar users. If you are set up as a calendar user, you will only see events that you placed in there. With these tutorials, we're always going to log in as an administrator, and you'll see pretty much the same thing. This screen can be sorted. We could show all events, or in this case, which would bring up our past events. As you can see, we have Sting in concert back in '09. We've brought him back again in March of 2010. If we wanted to just see the past events, here's where we can save some time. If you wonder why you would even want to bother seeing past events, the way I brought that Sting concert into May 2010 was in a prior tutorial recording that failed. But I copied this. I should back up a little bit and explain that a little bit. There's a, as you can see, we've got an edit icon up here. We have a copy icon. I copied that event to 2010. Close the window, and I come back and show our current and future events. And you can see that's the one we just put in. That's the old one. We'll get rid of that one. You got a trash can up there. Now remember, you can delete events from the calendar here as well. So if we wanted to get rid of that one, we'd bring up the exact same screen from there. So theoretically, if you're not even managing registrations, you can actually work directly off the calendar here without even going into your admin area. But this is just a convenient interface for you. We have some sorting options here. And again, going back into the event, the only thing I think we didn't do was take a look at the edit, which I really don't even want to bother fooling with that. If you can't, I think anybody can figure out how to edit an event. You just make your changes, save them, and there you go. So what we're going to do is conclude this tutorial. As I've already mentioned, CalendarWORX is a pretty easy program to administer, so I don't see any reason to keep talking to you about some of those things, but I do want to talk about the registration system, which we will cover in the next tutorial.